Your Jacksonville Jaguars have fallen to the Chiefs in Kansas City by a final score of 27-17. Welcome in to Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks for being here. The Jaguars dropped a tough one. There's certainly plenty of takeaways from this contest on both sides of the ball, but I have to start with what the most important thing is right now. And the most important thing for the long term health of the Jaguars franchise is Trevor Lawrence and how he is playing. And the last 2 weeks, you look at his performance against the Raiders in a comeback victory, his performance against the Chiefs this week. He finished 29 of 40, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked 5 times, was under pressure quite a bit today, was able to overcome that for the most part. He had another touchdown pass that was negated by a Cam Robinson illegal man downfield penalty. Trevor Lawrence has stacked 2 really good games back to back now, and you talk about the way he's playing. He's a player that is elevating the rest of his team over the last 2 weeks, and really has played winning football and played winning football today against the Chiefs. Mistake-free football, was absolutely slinging it all over the yard. Should have had more yards. He hit Christian Kirk perfectly down the field on the first drive of the game and hit him right in the chest. It would have been a big play, and Kirk wasn't able to haul it in. He just flat out dropped it, unfortunately, for the Jaguars on that one. But Trevor Lawrence is playing good football. He's playing good football for 2 weeks in a row. And I think that is something that Jaguars fans should be really encouraged about. He's looking like the guy that you expected to see in year two, and with Doug Peterson dialing up the plays. And speaking of Doug Peterson, onside kick to start the game. He was in his bag for a lot of this game from a play calling standpoint, from a decision making standpoint, game management, tried to take the points when they were there available on those field goals. Riley Patterson missed a couple, which absolutely killed the Jaguars early in this football game. Came back and made another one, but those missed field goals were critical. The Cam Robinson negated touchdown. Uh, Cam Robinson negated the touchdown to Evan Ingram. That was a critical mistake. You had the offensive line kind of falling apart, letting the Chiefs really wreak havoc on Trevor Lawrence, who was able to overcome that. So, not the biggest issue in the world. And of course, Chiefs have Chris Jones, one of the most talented defensive linemen in the game today. But I'm just really encouraged by what I saw from Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, you want to see the Jaguars go get a W, but not many people were really expecting that, right? Uh, I did not have the Jaguars winning this game. I thought they would play a little bit tighter, though. I really did. I didn't think they would have so many critical mistakes like what we've talked about here when you talk about the offensive line not playing well. The defense was horrendous in this contest for the Jaguars, especially in the first half. Second half, they settled in, played much better, but they couldn't cover anyone in the first half. They Chiefs had receivers running wide open through zones, and it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty for the Jaguars defense. It looked like Mike Caldwell's squad was unprepared for this football game. And now, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. It is Patrick Mahomes. It is Andy Reid. So you have to take that into account, certainly. But the way the Jaguars defense has been playing at times over the last month, last couple of months, it's pretty concerning. And some of it looks like a team that is unprepared. Certainly, you have players that need to execute at a higher level on the defensive side of the ball, but there's some looks where it just looks like that defense is completely unprepared. And you saw that quite a bit today. Just look like they have coverage busts. They don't know what's going on. They don't know their keys. And to me, at some point, some of that has to fall back on coaching, right? It's not just the players. There are some talented players on that defense for the Jaguars, but it's just not good enough right now in Duval with that defense, unfortunately. And it almost cost the Jaguars against the Raiders. It did cost the Jaguars against the Chiefs. You did have Rayshon Jenkins forcing a fumble. Devin Lloyd recovered it on the Chiefs' first drive. You also had Andre Cisco, big interception late in the game on Patrick Mahomes, and he made a couple really big hits earlier in the game, forcing some incompletions. He was really the Jaguars' best defender on the day. Had a really great outing with the interceptions, with the big hits, and of course, debate about the Juju play. To me, it looked clearly like Andre Cisco led with his shoulder. Juju dipped his head sustained a big impact. He was down on the ground. Obviously, prayers up for him. He was able to walk off the field. So you hope the best for Juju and that he's able to avoid long-term injury and all that. But I don't blame Andre Cisco for either of those big hits that he laid on those Chiefs receivers. I think they were legal plays and they weren't called for penalties. So I think that Andre Cisco had himself quite a day. And this is the type of game you're wanting to see from Andre Cisco in year two, right? This is a ball hawking safety. This is a guy who can create a lot of big plays with his athleticism, with his ball skills, and with his big hitting ability. And you kind of saw all of that come together for Andre Cisco today. That was nice to see. But unfortunately, no one else on the defensive side of the ball was really getting the job done at a high level for the Jaguars, and they just got cooked in the first half. And it's one thing to go down 17 to the Raiders. Entirely different thing to go down 20 to the Chiefs because of self-inflicted wounds and just poor play and poor coaching on the defensive side of the ball. Jamal Agnew, he was playing really well as well, and he unfortunately left the game with an injury. We'll have to see how he's doing. But since coming back from an injury a couple of weeks ago, Jamal Agnew has been fantastic on kick returns, and he had another big one today to help set the Jaguars up with really good field position, and they were able to capitalize on that. He was able to, on that kick return, a 39-yarder late in the first half to set up the Jaguars' first score of the game. Speaking of that first score, hell of a throw, hell of a catch by Marvin Jones down the sideline. Trevor put it in the perfect place. Marvin went and got it, set the Jaguars up in great field position to go get some points, and Trevor Lawrence was able to find Christian Kirk for a touchdown. Found him again later in the game for a touchdown. We know Christian Kirk had that really disappointing drop early in the game, but targeted 12 times, 9 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You wish you could have that play early back, but he made up for it the rest of the game. Christian Kirk really did. And when you look at how the offense functioned as a whole, I think it functioned fairly well outside of the drop, JaMychal Hasty drop, and then also the offensive line allowing a lot of pressure on Trevor, and certainly um, uh, just taking points off the board with that unfortunate penalty. Really disappointing stuff there for the Jaguars. But like I've said, Trevor Lawrence, fantastic game. That's the most important thing. You want to keep building Trevor Lawrence's confidence. You want him to keep stacking these good games. And that's what he's doing right now. And so, yeah, you want to see some wins right now if you're a Jaguar fan. But guess what? This year is not all about the wins. It's about developing Trevor Lawrence. It's about making sure you're setting up your team for future success. And I think the Jaguars are on track to be doing that right now. You look over at Tankathon now, the Jaguars are up to fifth in the draft order. So if they keep losing football games, you're going to sit somewhere around that top five, top 10, and have an opportunity to go get a really good football player to help this football team out. You've got Calvin Ridley coming in next year. I know this isn't the result the Jaguars wanted, isn't the result Jaguars fans wanted, but overall, my thoughts on this are I'm encouraged for the future because of Trevor Lawrence. I'm a little concerned about that defense. I don't know if Mike Caldwell is going to be the long-term answer at defensive coordinator. I know it's his first season. I know this was a game against the Chiefs, the best offense in football, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But the Jaguars defense has looked unprepared far too often this year, and they haven't been performing at the level that they need to be performing at, especially in clutch moments, which is a killer if you're trying to win football games. So we'll see how Mike Caldwell and his defense is able to respond. The Jaguars are going into their bye week, and then they're going to face the Ravens following that bye week. That's going to be an incredibly tough test. But the key here is just seeing Trevor Lawrence keep stacking games. Christian Kirk playing well overall. He's going to be around for a while, obviously. I thought Zay Jones had a really good game for the Jaguars, made some contested catches, picked up 68 yards on 8 catches, 10 targets. He is that underneath weapon that the Jaguars really need, and they've been using him well. Travis Etienne was fairly quiet in this one, only had 11 carries for 45 yards and 3 catches for 28 yards. The Chiefs defense, they were really snuffing out a lot of the horizontal action that the Jaguars were trying to run with Travis Etienne. And when the Jags got down by as much as they did, they were forced to turn to the pass quite a bit. So it is what it is on that front. But that's going to do it for this one. My biggest takeaway again is that Trevor Lawrence played really well. I think Doug Peterson had a really good game, and I think Mike Caldwell had a really a pretty bad stinker here. But it's against the Chiefs. You understand. You hope that this defense can kind of come together throughout the bye week and get things back on track, and so you can play some complementary football on both sides there, and maybe be able to pull off some wins down the stretch. But that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Make sure to check out our channel membership. Got a link in the description below. You can also go check out genjag.com, pick up some new Duval gear. Please hit that like and subscribe button, notification bell so you don't miss a show on here. Thank you so much, Duval.